And good morning. Thank you very much for joining. This is the Business Minds Coffee Chat, and we are excited this morning because we have one of the topics that I talk to my clients about quite frequently is differentiation. How do you set yourself apart from all the other businesses that are out there? What are you doing different? And today, and I actually wore what I'm wearing today because I know I need to get better at branding myself, but today we are honored to have a branding expert on with us. Ramon Peralta with Peralta Designs is the CEO, the founder, and the creative director of Peralta Design. Ramon, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me. I'm honored. I'm very excited.
As am I. So as a starting point, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your business itself, how you got started in this? You've got a wide range of clients who are in the who's who of the best businesses out there. So talk to us for just a moment about you and how you got into this business.
Yeah, so thank you. Thanks for having me. Again, the name of our company is Peralta Design. Our hashtag, our slogan is "We Launch Brands." And that has a lot to do with kind of what my background has been and where my career has taken me and how we started the company. So back in '98, I was on the startup team behind Priceline.com. So it's one of the few corporations born in the .com era that's still around to this day. And I had so much fun launching that company and being part of that team that launched it that I continued to work at Walker Digital, which was the incubator behind Priceline, for about 10 years after the launch of Priceline. At Walker Digital, I was part of a creative team that took business ideas and tried to launch them into companies. And Priceline was just one of 400 patents held by Jay Walker, my boss at the time. And so we felt we could catch lightning in a bottle, twice. So we were really working hard to launch brands and did this all the way up until 2008, where we launched hundreds of companies there. And in 2008, as we all know, the market crashed and Jay stopped innovating. He shifted his business model, which many of us are finding ourselves doing, even in this pandemic that we're in now. And so that new shift in business model caused him to lay off the creative team. And so in 2008, I took my severance package and my years of experience in launching companies and decided, you know what, after some soul searching, it's time for me to launch my own company. And so that's when Peralta Design was born, with the mission of helping others launch their companies or take their ideas and turn them into businesses, which is why we say we launch brands to this day. Now, today, 12 years later, we have a full-time team of 8 employees, very similar to the team we had at Walker in that it's multidisciplined. We're doing web development, we're doing mobile app development, we're doing branding, of course, which is my expertise. We're doing video, we're doing copywriting, we're doing digital marketing. We basically have a full-time team, a very nimble team that can take a business idea and bring it to life, or take an existing business that is launching a new product or service and help them bring it to life. And it's very exciting. And so we're definitely an essential business as we're in this COVID-19 chapter. 2020 has dealt us some blows, but we're adapting and helping other companies during this time. We're providing creative services to United Way of New York City, keeping them active. They're helping a lot of people during this time that have been displaced. And locally, we're helping Modern Plastics up here. It's a Connecticut-based business that is producing plastic face shields, and they're ready to ship out millions of these around the country. And we're helping them with branding and digital marketing. So we're staying very busy during this crisis.
Well, that's fantastic. I've seen several of the videos that you've put out. You've been very active on social, putting out great content, very helpful content. As a matter of fact, I stay active listening to you, and the tips and tactics and things that you've been providing, some suggestions and ideas on working from home and how to set up an office environment so you can stay productive. All of that sort of thing has been incredibly helpful. And you've always impressed me as someone who is focused on serving others. And that really is one of the ways that we connected initially. And I just have always enjoyed every conversation I've had with you, and you always speak from the heart. And the work that you put out, the content that you put out is through the roof. I mean, it's incredible. I love what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, once you go from being a solopreneur to having a team like we do at Peralta Design, you get into the people business. And in the people business, you're dealing with personalities, and people handle crisis differently. And so part of my strategy has been to keep my team motivated through and help them deal with the fear that we're all experiencing of uncertainty, because one day you might hear that it's not a big deal. Another day you hear that this is going to be the new normal for quite some time. You're getting death counts. You're getting all this negative, fearful content that's being put out there. And so one of the ways that as a leader that I've found has helped to dispel some of the fear is to throw ourselves into the service of others even more. So it's always been a mantra of ours to help others and to give back. But during this pandemic, and I advise this to every entrepreneur or business owner out there that has a unique expertise, to continue to put content out there that helps others, that's positive, that's helpful, because we need more of that during this time. And it gets you out of yourself. When you're fearful, it's very much me. But when you're helping others, it gets you out of yourself. For it could be just an hour at a time or a day at a time, but it gets you out of yourself. It gets you into thinking, well, what problems could I solve, now? What are the challenges people are having now? And so we've been advising people. We launched a brand new webpage strictly as a COVID-19 response, and that's something that I encourage all businesses to do, is to have a COVID response page on their website. So you can let people know what resources are available from your company, or what other resources are out there. And so we're offering free consultations, free tutorials. We're offering free webinars. We're even offering a free alert bar plugin if you have a WordPress site. So that immediately gave us something to do. Thankfully, we've been busy because we're an essential business and we're helping a lot of other essential businesses. But in the beginning, if you're nervous or you're fearful, throw yourselves into helping others. How can I be of service to someone else? And I guarantee you that fear will subside, because you're giving yourself purpose, even if it's for that hour or for that day.
Man, I'm telling you, great suggestions, no doubt about it. I want to go back to something that you said when you were talking about your team and overcoming fear. So walk through with us, if you don't mind, what are some of the specific steps that you've been taking to help your team overcome that fear, help your team stay focused and stay engaged as you're working remotely?
Sure. So, we used to all report to a brick and mortar, agency, and now everybody's working from home. So immediately I equated it to if anyone out there listening is a pet owner, that if you have a dog and the dog has separation anxiety, it's because it thinks it's supposed to be responsible for the owner when the owner leaves, and they panic. So as a business owner or a leader of a team, you do feel this sense of panic of like, hey, I'm supposed to be taking care of my team, but I don't know where they are. I don't know what they're doing. This abrupt change that we've all experienced causes this anxiety where your normal is disrupted. And so one of the things that we did was we went from just having a Monday morning staff meeting, which used to set the tone for the week, to having a daily staff meeting. So that immediately alleviates some of that anxiety, where we get to see each other through Zoom, through video every morning. And not only are we checking in on each other for priorities and what's on the radar for that day, but we just do a general emotional wellness check. And that's just been very helpful because we just, it's not just about, hey, how was your weekend? Now we're literally checking in. How was Monday? How are you doing today? Today's Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. How are you feeling? And we go around and we give everybody an opportunity to share. And that connection really has been helpful. And something as simple as making sure everyone wears like a company logo or a vest or some gear that has our company logo, whether it's just like, raising your mug and it's got your logo on it. Just having that visual connection, even though we're all working remotely, has really helped kind of remind us all that we're a family. And so if you have teams that have been displaced due to this, I think something as touching base every morning, wearing company gear, showing that pride, showing that connection, really helps alleviate and just reassures you that we will get through this together. I think that's all as humans we really need, is the reassurance that we're going to get through this, that there's hope, that we're going to continue to push forward, and just increase your communication. Check in on each other, check in on your clients. It's been really meaningful to just get emails from vendors and associates and strategic partners, and they're literally just checking in, like that human nature of just checking in. How are you doing? And not the sales pitch, but just how's it going during this time will really pay dividends down the line, because people are paying attention. What are brands doing during this time? I think the way you react as a business owner during this is going to really define you for years to come.
I love that. That's very powerful. Those check-ins and staying in front of your team and really just, health checks and self-care checks and what's going on in your world. What are you thinking about? How can I help you? All of those sorts of things are so incredibly important, as always, but especially right now. I had a meeting with a client early this morning. We had a Zoom meeting similar to this, and those meetings, we have completely shifted the agenda. The agenda always starts now with good news. And it's just basically 5 to 10 minutes going around the room talking about what good is happening, because there's so many things that can distract us if we're paying so much attention to the news and what everyone's talking about, the negativity. Right. It almost keeps us in that same mindset. So we have to shift the way that we think. We have to open ourselves up, always be in service of others, but also look for the opportunities to help, look for the opportunities to lift others, talk about the good news, talk about what's positive. And there are plenty of things, if your eyes are wide open, there's plenty of things that you can look to that are positive. But you have to be open to it. You have to look for it. So talking about it and surrounding yourself with others that also have a positive mindset can help immensely. So I'm really thrilled to hear that you're having those kinds of conversations with your team. The culture that you've built at Peralta Design, before all of this, the culture has always impressed me. I take a look at the way that you engage with your team. I've met with most of your team members, and they love what they do. And they love the business, and they love their clients, and they love showing up every day, serving. And it's amazing. Is this something that you grew up with? Is it something that you learned through mentors and through others? Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it does come from a personal place. My parents were both immigrants. They worked in factories, and so I grew up benefiting from summer camps and reduced lunches and those kind of things, and of course financial aid through college. And so I just feel that now that I'm in a position to create jobs and help the economy, that it's my responsibility to help others. And if it were up to me, I'd do this full time. But obviously, I've got to keep the lights on. And so in an effort to clone myself, I've instilled that same sense of giving back in the company's culture so that I can send other team members to volunteer with the local United Way or with the Boys and Girls Club or with the Chamber, whether it's a toy drive or a food drive or a coat drive, whatever it is, it's part of our culture because no one has gotten to where they are on their own. We've all received help from one form or another, and I think it's just the right thing to do to pay it forward. And so it's really just been in an effort to clone myself. The fact that I can't be at every charity or nonprofit fundraiser or be on every board possible. I've got to start to instill that in my team so that they can become the future leaders and they can be on the boards and they can do the volunteerism and we can make a greater impact. And it's funny that now that we're in this crisis, I was just sharing this with my team. Whether you believe in karma or whether you want to say that the dividends will come, because of that selfless nature that we've had in our business, we've attracted many clients that are essential businesses now that we're in crisis. Had we been a creative agency that focused on entertainment, let's just say,
Okay.
and all we wanted to do was say, we want music clients or we want sport clients. We only want to work for the NFL. We only want to work for, ABC or what have you. We would not be busy right now because, as you know, industry and sporting and events and all that whole industry just got shut down completely. If you've ever caught a wrestling match recently, there's nobody in the audience. The NBA canceled their season. All the sporting events have been canceled, and we've instead focused on clients that were doing something good in the world. I always said, if you can use your powers for good and make money and help people, it's like the trifecta. And now we find ourselves busy because we have clients like the United Way of New York City. So we're keeping them active and keeping their website running through this pandemic. And they're an essential business or organization because they're helping others. So it's like it worked out. Us helping others has keeping us busy through this time where we're looking at our whole nation coming together and volunteering, and people are at home sewing masks and things. There's this thing going on right now that we probably haven't seen since 9/11, where we were heading in such a polarizing place with our country, with politics and everything, and now we're seeing the country is coming together again. And we're just blessed that we've always had that culture in our company, and now it's what's keeping us busy and keeping us active when maybe other agencies haven't been so fortunate because their book of business may have been focused on other areas, and we've kept ours pretty diverse.
Wow, Ramon, that is the definition of connected to goodness. Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic. I love that. Thank you for sharing it and articulating it the way that you did. And for anyone that's listening, that doesn't just happen, right? We lead by example. So it's not only from the top down, but it's from the bottom up. And you clearly have done an exceptional job surrounding yourself with a great team, a very talented team, but also a team that you've empowered that wants to grow, that's hungry to grow, and that's hungry to learn. And I recall just a couple of conversations with two of your younger team members, and just listening to the way that they were excited in conversation about life in general and the things that were meaningful to them. What a different type of mindset. And so kudos to you for being able to put the right people in the right positions and surrounding yourself with just an amazing team. I really do love that. And that is one of the things that clearly differentiates you from everyone else out there. So wanted to speak for a moment about gratitude. And we've had a couple conversations about this. One of the things that we connect on is the way that we ground ourselves, the way that we move, the way that we think about situations like we're in right now with the pandemic, in how we move past that, right? How we elevate ourselves and help others. But let's talk about gratitude for a moment. What are you grateful for right now?
Well, I'm grateful for this opportunity to be on the show with you. We have offices in Palm Coast, and my son, I'm grateful that he's able to bunk, to use our Palm Coast home as a bunker, because he normally resides in New York City, and that's currently the epicenter of what's going on. So I'm very grateful to be able to afford a safe place for him to be. And I'm grateful for the fact that my team is busy. When you have employees and you're making payroll every couple of weeks, you realize that lives are depending on you. And I've had conversations with other entrepreneurs that don't want any part of having a staff. They don't want the quote unquote headaches that come along with it. But I'm actually grateful to have a team that I know is bettering themselves, that they have families to raise, I care about them deeply as family, and I'm very grateful that we're in a position where we're busy, and we don't foresee having to lay anyone off during this time. We're very sensitive to the fact that they're predicting 30% unemployment, and a lot of things are going on. But it's also reassuring to know that there are a lot of government programs that are being released daily to help keep the economy going, and help people that have been displaced able to keep food on the table. So our headquarters are here in Connecticut, and as you know, we're in a stay at home, stay safe, mandate by the governor, a shelter in place mandate that's happening here. And I saw something recently that said, we're not stuck at home, we're safe at home. So I keep telling my wife every day, who's a school teacher, and she's teaching her kindergartners through Zoom, through Microsoft Teams, actually. So she's
Okay.
totally readjusting to teaching, but we're spending time together. So I'm grateful for this, for the silver lining in all of this. And I really think everyone should think of the silver lining and not look at it as I'm stuck at home, but you're safe at home, and not look at it as my wife's home and I'm home and now I have to see her all day, but rather I get to reconnect with her because maybe I was spending too much time in the office. Look at the silver lining, because the reality is that a lot of this is outside of our control.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to look at the positive. So I'm grateful to have the awareness today to look at the silver lining in all of this. And from a business standpoint, I'm convinced that as all of us as business owners that are listening to this are coming up with new ways to conduct business through this crisis, that many of those innovations are going to be, or continue to be, new verticals for us for revenue in the future. I think of a karate school here that, they've been affected by this all. So they've gone to Google Classroom, and they created a virtual dojo where kids can take karate lessons through their computer. They're continuing, they're innovating, and I think that the silver lining in all of this is that once things get back to normal, that they may continue to offer these virtual karate classes for that shy boy or girl that may not be comfortable going to a dojo, but rather do it from home. So there's a silver lining in all of this. I truly believe that, and I'm just grateful to have that awareness, because as I've shared with you, when you're in the idea business, we've got to be positive. We've got to be optimistic. We're pulling ideas out of the universe. I truly believe that we draw our creativity from each other. I believe in the laws of attraction, and I believe we've got to stay optimistic through all this. So gratitude is probably the starting point of all of that optimism. You've got to be grateful despite everything that's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And you also hit on the power of words and the power of reframing words. So you said, having the ability to be at home and to work at home versus being stuck at home. It's a very slight shift, but it's also a very powerful shift. So if we're thinking that we're stuck at home, that creates a very different type of mindset. That's a negative, right?
Right.
That forces us to, yeah, I've heard you say this before, but it's almost like curling into that ball where we're not able to create, where we're not able to do, where we're not able to take action. But when you reframe the way you look at things, and there's that subtle mind shift,
Mm-hmm.
not only in words but in actions, that is very powerful. So I'm glad you brought that up. Another thing that I wanted to touch on with you, because I know that you're active in the networking community
Yep.
as well. How
Mm-hmm.
has this impacted your ability to network with other businesses?
Yeah, so that's great. I think all the major networking groups, and I know you're active in a number of them yourselves, have quickly migrated over to virtual networking. I think that it's something that I think will continue to stay and will expand many of these groups. For me, a lot of the local groups have gone to virtual, and I think that that once this is over, each one of these groups is now going to be able to maybe create a national chapter of their networking group, or maybe a national industry chapter of their networking group. I think we're going to see an expansion and a greater connection, because believe me, there's a learning curve to all this. Some of us have been doing this all along, but many of us are new to this. And those that are new to this, by the time this is over, they're going to be pros. So we're going to have an exponentially greater amount of people that are increasingly comfortable with virtual networking. So I think we're going to see greater connections where your business may have impacted a certain geographical area, and now maybe is going to have the ability to make a national impact. With our business having an office in Florida and Connecticut, it allows us to reach clients all over the country. And I think we're going to see that more for more businesses, simply for the fact that the internet can connect us all. So I really see it even just being a positive for networking.
Man, that's great. I love the optics that you put around this. That's fantastic. Again, it goes to your positive mindset, the way that you look at things, and because you are open to these new ideas and looking always at the solutions and not at the problems, that allows you to receive that kind of information. So very awesome stuff. I really appreciate it. So in our last remaining minutes, what advice would you give to other business leaders who are dealing with this pandemic, that are trying to figure out how they continue to move their business forward? You can either touch on that, or if you have a suggestion or an idea on a business from a branding perspective, how to differentiate themselves. You choose whatever comes to you.
Yeah, so I great. And I think you're a great example of what I'm about to talk about, which is I think the reality is that this is going to be the new normal for the foreseeable future. Maybe the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, we don't know. But if you plan on conducting business, which I think you should, I think that there is something to be said for respecting what you do, who you do it for, no matter where you're doing it from. So if you were a business owner that interacted with people in a suit and tie, and now you're converting your office to your kitchen, you really should still wear that suit and tie. I, for one, always meet and present with a jacket on and a pocket square. Now that I'm doing it from home, I'm going to continue that because that was my brand. So from a branding standpoint, whatever your customer experience was prior to COVID-19, you need to migrate that over to this virtual world and continue that same brand experience to your clients. If you met with your clients in a t-shirt, you can continue to meet them in a t-shirt. But if you met them in a suit, or you had a certain experience that you delivered, try to figure out, how do I translate that over to virtual? And I think you're doing a great job with having branding behind you. That's very important, to always remind your client who it is they're speaking to, because now you're going to have people that are doing 5 or 6 video conferences a day on average. And when they meet with you, your business should stand out by having branding. Or if you're in a networking group and you've got a grid of, say, 20 participants on this call,
Mhm.
and 15 of them look like they're obviously in their kitchen with a refrigerator in the background, with a kid jumping around, with a dog barking, but you've got your retractable banner, you've got your logo, you're wearing your branded shirt, you've got your branded mug, you've got a name badge. You're going to deliver a branded experience, and you're going to stand out by doing so. And so I think people need to realize that this isn't a temporary thing where it's like a week or two. Like, this is going to be the norm for the foreseeable future. The social distancing is probably going to be here to stay for a while. People are getting increasingly more comfortable with virtual, but what can you do to deliver a better branded customer experience through the use of technology? I think that's going to be my takeaway for you on this. And you're a great example. You've got your logo behind you. Have a neutral background or have a branded background, but be professional in your delivery, even if it's from home. Even if you're working from home, dress for work, if I can put it that way, because people are getting comfortable. They're rolling out of bed. They're wearing their pajamas. You would not do that had this pandemic been occurring. So why are you doing it now? Even if you're home and you're working from home, set boundaries, get dressed. Have your door closed. Have a dedicated area. Treat your work area just like you would your office, and treat your customers just like you would in person, even through video. I think that's very important.
Love it. Thank you so very much for sharing that. Some great tips. So we are about to close this particular coffee chat. If anyone wants to reach you to just have a conversation, to learn more about you, your business, what you offer, just to be able to watch some of the great content that you've been putting out, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, we have a page dedicated to COVID-19 where you can book your free consultations with us. You can download free tutorials. You can download free webinars. It's peraltadesign.com/COVID-19. We're also very active on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I share a weekly video on there, and I'm sure you'll tag my business on this post. And I look forward to helping you. Definitely feel free to reach out to me. We're here to help each other, and we will get through this together.
Fantastic. Great words of advice. Ramon, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it. You're a champion, and you are absolutely connected to goodness. I love having conversation with you, and I look forward to growing with you as we continue to progress.
Absolutely.
And the future is bright. We will get past this, and just take action. If anyone needs anything, please reach out to either of us. We're here to have a conversation, and look forward to seeing you next time. You take care, my friend.
Thank you.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.